This computer. All right. So, and it's not live, by the way, but anyway, good afternoon, good evening. I hope everyone's having a good day. Because anyone that's watching this video, because it's going to be on replay, obviously. I'm here with Dante. And I love to interview people that they got their first job in IT. Dante got his first job in IT. I'm happy for you, man. And now I'm going to re-ask you that same question that I asked you before. So how did you get that job, and what job are you going to be doing? Those two things. And also tell me a little bit about yourself a little bit. Like, tell me like what kind of background do you have? Do you have a background in IT? Do you have no background in IT? Or are you just it's like you already knew something that you really like want to do this, or give me some information.
Yeah, so basically, like, I grew up in a tri-state area. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. So I'm actually from New York, and I lived in Connecticut for a little while, southwestern Connecticut. So I kind of spent some time there, in the Bronx, because that area is close to the Bronx as well. And then like in 2005, I actually moved to North Carolina. And prior to me moving here in 2005, after I graduated high school, I had no technical experience. However, though, during the summer, I was actually preparing myself to actually get into some sort of program before I moved down here. So my father died of a heart attack in 2003.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you, man. So I was kind of puzzled, like what exactly happened, like what triggered it, like what was actually going on to cause that. I mean, besides the usual high blood pressure or, an aneurysm of the brain trickling down to a heart attack. So I was trying to figure out what happened, like what transpired. So that summer before moving to North Carolina, I actually applied for an internship that was at the hospital that was close to, where I lived. And I got certified, with the American Heart Association, as an EKG technician. So that was like my actual real sort of kind of first tech job that familiarized me with a responsibility, because I was responsible for like 50 patients. And basically I was responsible for actually checking the leads, making sure their leads weren't off, making sure they weren't having a heart attack or dying or anything. And if their leads were off or, something was wrong with their, heart rhythm, then I would have to report to like the nursing staff, the nurse practitioner or doctor, and just, let them know what was going on. So that was like my actual real role. And I did that, when I got the job in North Carolina, I worked at the hospital. I did that for about, I'm going to say 6 to 7 years. And then after that, I was like, okay, what's next? Like, where do I want to go? Because, I had an interest in video games and technology. My father was actually an engineer at a plant in New York. But at the same time, I didn't know where I wanted to go. And my grandfather was actually a computer engineer in the Navy. So it was kind of like in my bloodline. But me personally, I didn't know I wanted to go. My brother became a nurse. So I was kind of, I'm not going to say lost, but at the same time, I knew I wanted to do something in tech, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I said to myself, let me, I kept hearing about the A+ certification. I said, let me just go ahead and go to school first, and maybe, from there, kind of like networking with staff, and I'll understand, where I should go from there. So I went to school for 2 years, and I got a degree in management information systems. And it was one of those situations where I got there and I finished my 2-year program, my associates in science, but I'm like, okay, I got this degree, but where am I going to go? Like, so I said, of course, I'm going to apply to jobs, but who's going to, like, what am I going to actually be doing? Like, of course, like, I know what management information systems, is implying, but I'm like, where am I going to use this? Am I going to use this in a large corporation? I'm going to use this in a hospital, like where? So I had stumbled upon a woman that I knew at the time. She was a systems engineer. And she was like, have you ever heard about the A+ certification? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. She was like, you should consider getting your A+. It might help you land your first help desk technician job or something like that, or maybe even get into the Geeksquad at Best Buy. So I was like, I mean, I guess, you know, but I had already did 2 years of like studying at a community college and doing this and that. I was like, I really don't want to have to pick up this book, this thick A+ certification book, and study 220-801 and 220-802. I said, I don't know, man. She was like, yeah, you should really consider it. So after like searching for jobs, having no luck, I wind up going back working at the hospital, doing a BSI job as a utilities worker, not actually utilities like messing with like anything electrical or anything. I was actually just like running trash, like working at the tray line at the hospital and stuff like that, part-time. And I'm like, okay, so I know I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I said, I'm like, at the time I'm 22, you know, again, I'm gonna be 23, then 24, 25. I said, I can't continue to live like this or do this. So there's gotta be something out there for me. I said, maybe, you know what, I should consider the A+. Maybe it will help me get to the next level in my life. So I kind of like threw away that mentality that I had. I studied for the A+, the 220-801 and the 220-802, knocked it out, got certified, passed, applied, got my first actual real tech job at Best Buy, because during the time they actually merged the computer department and Geeksquad together, because they were having like a problem with sales at the time. They were hiring a lot of people to work in the sales department of computers, but they knew nothing about computers. So sales were kind of poor, you know, because you can't sell a product and you know nothing about it. You can't just be at your way to somebody and say, hey, this is good. You know, what's so good about it? So they seen that, you know, this guy's knowledgeable of actually, you know, Microsoft Windows operating systems, and he understands, you know, Android, iOS. He understands how to use, you know, let's just go ahead and just hire this guy in a hybrid role. So we'll have him work in the computer department and the Geeksquad. So I was kind of playing a dual role in my position. And I had did so well. Basically, they were like, you know, let's go ahead and convert you full time to the Geeksquad. And, you know, let's kind of like go from there and see where you want to go. So I had gained my experience from there. You know, I was upgrading, imaging, you know, laptops, you know, desktops. I was just pretty much, you know, you name it, the typical, you know, upgrades of PCs and laptops. Nothing too major, but I kind of got tired of it, because I'm like, okay, well, what's next for me after this? You know, I had spent at least like, you know, 2.5 years there, but I was like, I think I got somewhat of some leverage working here at Best Buy, you know, so where am I going to go next? So I started applying, you know, to jobs on Indeed. So I seen that LinkedIn had a POS technician. It was kind of like a remote / desk side position. So, you know, I applied, I got the job at Walmart as a POS technician. And I mean, it was pretty cookie cutter. It wasn't a complicated job. It was actually easier than the Best Buy Geeksquad job, because I was basically required to, you know, upgrade, you know, troubleshoot the operating systems, you know, especially for the self-checkout POS systems, or even at the cash registers. They were really Linux based. So again, a lot of the, you know, automation tools that were implemented already, you know, that were set up, were just really there for me to just click, and it wasn't complicated at all. You know, let's just say that. So I did that job for about 1.5 years, and I said, okay, you know, I'm tired of like the help desk side positions. It's time for me to like step into a different role, but this time around, I want to be able to have a designated role instead of me just repairing computers and trying to sell this and that. I actually think I like networking. I said, so let me try that. So the summer of 2018, I applied at Spectrum, which is Charter Spectrum, which is the most hated company. I'll tell you that right now. And I actually applied for residential technical support. And it was all networking, but it was just extremely easy, because studying for the A+, I kind of had like the general basis and foundation of knowledge. So I really pretty much excelled at that job. You know, it was like really helping residential, you know, modems, routers, switches. Then we were using software called customer relationship management, which is CRM. And it was just pretty much knowing and memorizing the codes and just creating automation, if people wanted to upgrade their accounts and stuff. So it was just extremely simple, but I knew that for me to take it to the next level, I needed to be savvy in networking, so I got my Net Plus, knocked out the Net Plus. I got certified in that. Did the Spectrum residential support role for about a year and a half. And then after that, I had transitioned and kind of did a lateral move. I moved to Spectrum business technical support as a networking specialist. So from residential to business, it was completely different because this time we're dealing with, domains, we're dealing with PTR requests, issues, we're dealing with email infrastructure issues, enterprise issues, like, we're talking about like heavy duty networking stuff, not like super heavy duty, but much more complex than residential because it wasn't basic. We're talking about you taking down a whole business that requires to run off the internet. So I did that, transitioned into the role, excelled at it once again, because I think my knowledge of the Network Plus helped me understand a lot. Understanding like fiber internet, understanding coax, understanding DSL, even though it's old. And then, kind of like from there, they were like, well, you're doing so well in this position. How about, you transition, to a senior business technical support analyst since you've been with the company, pretty much 4 years now. So I took that position, and that position basically was kind of sort of similar to what I was doing prior. But this time, using ServiceNow, using also Cars Remedy, which were ticketing systems, just pretty much managing the cloud-based tools that we use. So if anything went wrong, I kind of test software pre-deployment, any issues, report them to like the software development team, as well as the software engineering, either or if something happened, and, help with on-the-job training, of course, still email infrastructure issues, enterprise infrastructure issues, like as far as internet goes. And, I just said, I'm tired of, not having to talk to customers and businesses, but I said, I'm, tired of the whole networking thing. So, I have stumbled across a couple of people that I know that were engineers, so I have a friend, named Devin, who's a software engineer from Microsoft. And then I have another friend who's actually a cloud engineer over at Microsoft. So I was like, well, maybe my next step will be engineer, because I said, I don't want to just be a user. I said, I actually want to understand, the concepts behind deploying and building the software, how everything works from a coding perspective. Like, I want to be able to understand and know how to build something from scratch. So I said, maybe software engineering, will be my next step, my next thing. So a friend of mine was like, well, you should understand and learn SQL, how to use SQL first. And then, maybe that will transcend into you learning how to use everything else after that. And I said, okay, so we'll see. I said, because definitely I'm looking to, transition into, getting into the software side of things. So basically what I had did was I had reached out to a recruiter, and they were telling me that there's a company hiring for a systems analyst tier 2. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. So she was like, I'm going to send you the job description on LinkedIn. Go ahead and apply. So I applied for the position, and, they were impressed with my resume. So they said, we'd like to set up for an interview. So we set up for the interview. And the first interview, it was supposed to be actually 2 people, but, it was one woman, and, she was like, do you understand or know how to use SQL? And I was like, no, but here's the key word. I said, I can learn. And I told her I can go to YouTube University. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, I can always, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. Yep.
I said, I can always go on YouTube and, take maybe 6 hours of my day and, go to the Free Code Academy or Free Code Camp YouTube channel and learn how to do something. I said, I'm a fast learner. And she was like, very interesting. And she was like, you know what, that was a great response to my question. She was like, well, I think you would be a great candidate for this position. So give us about a week or two to reach back out to you and make a decision. So I was like, all right, great. So I'm nervous, so I'm actually, going on YouTube, downloaded PopSQL, MySQL, just practicing and stuff in case I make it to the next interview and they ask me questions. So I made it to the next phase of the interview. And actually, I just so happened to be in Florida. I had one on vacation to Panama City Beach, me and my wife. And, I didn't think the guy was going to actually interview me because he was like 20 minutes late. So I'm sitting there, I got my suit on and everything. And I'm just like, man, I don't even know if he's going to come in. So I had reached out to the recruiter, via Gmail, and he was like, he's just running a little late. So we actually interviewed, he came in. So he asked me specifically, why do you want to transition into a new role? Like, why choose systems analyst? Like, why, what was your why? He just said, tell me why. So I pretty much told him I want to be able to grow professionally within my career. I said, I feel like I'm at a point where I've did the technical side of things and, upgraded, built, and, helped deploy software testing. I said, I'm ready to like be the mind behind actually, building a database or just understanding how that works, as well as, learning how to code. And he was like, that was a great answer. And he was like, well, I just want you to understand that you may go from, working 20 to 30 tickets and figuring this out and that out. He said, to this is actually relational database stuff. He was like, MySQL, PopSQL, and things of that nature. He said, are you confident within that? And I said, yes. And he was like, what makes you confident? And I pretty much just told him the honest truth. I said, it's one thing to say that you cannot do something, but I said, it's another thing to say, if I don't know it or understand it, I said, I can always ask someone who's, within that scope of work, or I can actually do the research myself. I told him, I said, I'm one of the biggest, proponents to me of life is being able to go out and actually seek out and do your own research and figure out how to do something. I said, I'm that kind of person. I'm ambitious when it comes to knowledge. So if it's something that I want to know, I'm not afraid to Google it or actually go on YouTube and watch a video. I told him I'm a visual learner. So, something that I need to learn, I said, I'm always willing to take 5-6 hours out of my day, and just be willing to learn it, and do the research. And he was like, that's a great answer. That's very respectable, actually. And he was like, I respect that answer. I think you would be a good fit for the team. Do you have any other questions? And I was like, no. He was like, all right, well, you should hear something back next week. So the next week went by, didn't hear anything. I'm getting calls and, messages on LinkedIn about this position available, that, but I really wanted this position. So 2 weeks have went by. Before it reached the third week, I got an email saying from the recruiter, hello, sorry, I haven't gotten back to you shortly, but the director would like to do an interview with you. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. So I had to make a sacrifice, man. So I actually got in trouble because, at work, we have like a time system, and I had to actually go in and use my auxiliary at work and actually, go over my lunch. So my lunch was 30 minutes. I had to go over like an hour and 15 minutes. But I said, I'm not going to be here, and this is a sacrifice I have to make. I said, because if I didn't do that interview with the director, I probably wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. So sometimes you got to make sacrifices. You got to bet on yourself. So that's what I did. So I had the third interview, and she kind of asked me the same questions the prior interviewer asked. Why do I want to, transition, and why do I want to grow professionally, and what are my future plans? And she was like, do you plan on being with this company, long term, and what my salary expectations are? And then she kind of went over like the benefits and stuff like that. So I'm getting happy because usually, from my experience, when someone mentions to you during an interview, here are the benefits, and, here's the job description, and you work remote, you can work from anywhere. I'm like, okay, I got this. I know I got it. Like, I'm good. So our interview ended, up being about an hour and 20 minutes. Finished the interview. Everything was cool. So I'm saying to myself, like, I know I got it. Like, I know I got it. Like, I'm super confident. So a week had went by. I didn't hear anything. 2 weeks by, I didn't hear anything. 3 weeks went by. Finally, I got a message from the recruiter stating, he was like, hello, Mr. Coleman. Unfortunately, you did not get selected for the systems analyst position. I was like, damn, man. Like, I thought I had it. Like, I was confident. But I didn't realize when I did fill out for that position, I filled out for two different ones. I filled out for an applications analyst, and I filled out for the systems analyst tier 2. So I kid you not, like 5 minutes after that email I got saying that I was, disqualified, I got an email from another recruiter saying, hello, Mr. Coleman, your interview was passed to our department. Your resume was passed on to our department. We would like to set up for an interview for an application software analyst position. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. So they were like, this interview is with 3 individuals. And I'm like, okay. So usually 3 individuals during the interview could either mean the final interview, or that could just be the way the interview set up. So I interviewed with, the manager, interviewed with the director and the lead of the applications software department. And I'm like, this is exciting, but at the same time, I'm confused because I'm like, okay, did the from the systems analyst tier 2, did she out of good faith pass on my resume to that department or what? Like, how do I know? I'm unsure. So did the interview, I was confident. So they asked me kind of the same questions, why do I want to transition? And, they were asking me like strange questions, like if you could be an animal, what animal would you be?
Yeah.
I'm thrown off. Like, what?
I get questions like that too. I had questions like that.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? Okay. So I'm answering questions, and then they're like, so do you know anything about SQL? Because we use SQL here sometimes. And I was like, you know what? I'm practicing on my SQL skills now. I said, I guarantee you, when it comes to time for me to actually use SQL, I won't know everything, but I know something enough to leave an impression on you for you guys to realize that he's been, doing his due diligence. And they were like, they said, that's actually, impressive and wonderful. So they were like, why should we choose you? And I kind of gave them the answer. And I was like, I had a prior, possible offer in another department. I said, unfortunately, I didn't get it. But I said, I understand things happen. And I said, out of good faith, I said, hopefully, I'm selected for this position. I said, I think my previous customer service skills, I said, as well as my information technology skills will allow me to grow professionally within my career. I said, within this company. And I said, I think I contribute, versatility. And it was like, that's great. We like that. And they said, we want to more so know also, how would, your current colleagues within the business you work for, how would they, describe you? What kind of things do you think they would say? So I pretty much told them that. And they was like, everything sounds great, very impressive. And the manager was like, I'll be your manager, and she was kind of describing herself. And then, the lead was breaking down like, his career path and what he wanted to do. And he was saying he wanted to be a software engineer. And then the director was kind of going over his history. And it was like, we think you'd be a great fit, with us. And I mean, besides that, do you have any other questions? So it kind of lasted 20 minutes. So it was supposed to be an hour. And I was like, no. I said, it was a pleasure speaking with you guys. And I said, I hopefully I get an opportunity to work with you all in the future, as well as learn. And it was like, fantastic, great. We look forward to hearing from you, So that was the end of it. So 2 weeks went by. I said, you know what? There's something that I didn't do to kind of gain or gauge myself on the upper echelons versus whoever applied. I said, I didn't send my accolades to the recruiter. So, within like my position with Spectrum, I had a whole bunch of like, awards that I won from working on projects, working with stakeholders, vice presidents. They had nothing but good things to say about me. So I said, if they're really concerned about my customer service skills and on that side of things versus technical, I said, let me go ahead and give myself the edge. So what I did was that morning, I compiled all that and I sent it via email to the recruiter. And so she messaged me back and she was like, this is like impressive, all this stuff. And she was like, I'm going to forward this over to the hiring manager. Right. So I had another random interview with another company called Vise, and they're basically based out of Silicon Valley. And they're like one of the first companies, according to, the CEO who I interviewed with, they created like an artificial intelligent device that is responsible for monitoring your heart. So instead of you at the hospital attached to leads, basically this device can, kind of like, monitor your heart for X amount of times. And, you use the Linux terminal to kind of figure out what's been going on with that person. So it has like an IP address, and then pretty much you use the Linux terminal, and you get the MAC address for the device. You can kind of like check the diagnostics, see what's been going on. So I had the interview with him, and, it was kind of like another technical support role. And he was just basically saying to me that, hey, like, this is Monday through Friday, but we need to hire people now. Like, can you start within 2 weeks? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, you can work from anywhere you want, but you'll be on call once a week. And he was like, as long as you're familiar with how to use Linux or some sort, or at least the Linux terminal, this is going to be great for you. So he was excited. I was sounding optimistic about it, but it's not really what I wanted. But I'm like, okay, interview went well. It lasted about 30 minutes. I kid you not. 30 minutes of the interview being done, within like maybe 5 minutes, I got a call, and it was from a Long Island number. So I'm like, what? Who is this? So I'm thinking to myself, this got to be some sort of like phishing call, or this got to be some sort of like, scam call or something, But usually, my robo app on my iPhone picks it up. So something in my heart told me pick up this call. So I stepped away from my desk, and it was a guy, from India. So I'm like, okay, is this someone who's going to try to, and this is not to be offensive or anything, but I said, is this going to be, someone trying to offer me something or sell me something, or is this a legit call? So the guy said, hello, is this Dante Coleman? I said, yes. He was like, my name is such and such. I'm from Evelyn Health. I was like, okay. He was like, I wanted to tell you, congratulations. We would like to offer you a position as an application support analyst. Are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah. He was like, wonderful. He said, well, I'm happy to hear that. He was like, do you have a few minutes to speak? Talk about salary range, all this, blah, blah. And I was like, yes. And he was just telling me about my bonus eligibility and, all this stuff. So he was like, do you have any criminal records? Because we're gonna have to conduct a background check. I was like, no. Do you use drugs? I was like, no, I use neither. I don't have a criminal record. And he was like, all right. He was like, so I'll call you back with more information. So then he had text messaged me and was like, so I'm going to show you the salary range. He was like, this is the salary range between $65,000 and $70,000 for entry level. And he was like, do you have any other questions? I was like, no. So he was like, create a Workday account. So he sent me the link. I've already had a Workday account created. He was like, I want you to accept the offer. He said, then I want you to, process and fill out all the information to conduct the background check. And he's like, also, I want you to go ahead and take a drug test. And I was like, cool. So like that very moment, I was kind of like, starstruck, because I'm like, the expectations of me getting that call after that interview were ridiculous because I had no idea. But sometimes that's how the universe works. Sometimes that's how God works. So that was my calling, man. So I got the position, and it was just more so a blessing than anything, because I think out of good faith, they liked me so much as a the systems analyst department liked me so much, and they kind of got to know who I was. I think out of good faith, they passed my resume on to a different department where they see me better suited. And I think that's what kind of got me, the opportunity to be able to become a application support analyst. So it was kind of a wonderful experience, man. Like, and I would tell anybody, because me personally, last summer 2020, I got offered a cybersecurity position as a cybersecurity analyst, because I was actually focusing on that, and it was actually through Spectrum. Mm-hmm. This was the height of COVID. This was just August 2020. But I actually did the interviews. I did all the trainings, and I was ready to go. So I was living in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina now. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited, me and my wife. And the guy's saying, like, right now, all offices are closed in the facility because of COVID. So you should be able to, start working in January 2021. He was like, even though it was August, he was like, I'll send you the details, the offer and everything. So just follow up throughout the months, be checking your email internally on Outlook. So I was getting information, I was processing it, all that stuff, took a drug test, background check. Good. I mean, I'm like, I already work for the company, so what do you need all this other stuff for? But to make a long story short, some months went by, the guy ghosted me. Like, at this time, we weren't even using WebEx, we were using Skype. His picture on Skype went from a picture of him to like just a blank silhouette. So I checked UX, I checked UX ID, which is like a software where you can use to look up employees. It said he was inactive. And I was like, what? Yo, like, where is this guy? Like, no one emailed me, no one followed up with me. I reached out to the director. I reached out to HR who deal with that department. No one reached out to me. So I was kind of discouraging, man, because I'm like, dang, dude, that's the reason why I moved to Charlotte, because I knew that in Charlotte, you can work more sophisticated positions, within working for Spectrum, because this is where enterprise is. This is where, CSOC is. This is where the Knox Center is. Everything is here, So I'm like, dang, man. So I told my wife, like, that's disappointing, like how he ghosted me. So I get, a letter in the mail about the position, and they pretty much deep six the position in Charlotte. And it was like, would you like to move to Dallas, Texas? I'm like, no. Like, how are you just going to spring that on me like that? Like, that's messed up. So I kind of like moved forward past it, applied to another position for a company called UpGuard. And that company UpGuard, I went through the same thing, I made it to the third interview, and the guy was like, yo, I want you on my team, this is for a cybersecurity analyst position. I think you'd be great for it. I mean, anything you don't know, we can train you. Don't worry about it. You have IT experience. So that's really what we're looking for. Same thing. I reached out to the guy on LinkedIn personally. He was like, I don't understand where, the hiring manager is or what's going on with her, but I'm going to message her personally to make sure that she at least reaches out to you to give you a decision. Mm-hmm. Never reached out to me. I got ghosted, man. So, I came to, decision with myself, and I said I could either quit, give up, be discouraged, stop applying, and stay stagnant within my position, or I could be persistent and stay consistent within my search. Mm-hmm. So I said, because, if I quit now and stay stuck with this position at Spectrum, I said, and I don't allow myself, time and, give myself the ability to be able to grow, I said, then I don't know where I'm actually going to be able to, end up here. Here is not it. I don't want to work Spectrum no more. People hate Spectrum. They hate Charter. I don't want to work for a company that, is reflective of bad things, especially shady business practices. Mm-hmm. So I said, I have to continue my search. So I kind of went through everything here and there, man. And I actually ended up here within this position, just based off of, again, persistency and consistency, man. You just can't give up.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
You can't, man. You
definitely.
can't. Yeah, man. And I would, tell anybody who kind of went through the same thing that I went through, you just can't give up, man. Do your footwork, be confident, man. It's all about confidence. Like in practice, man, like you helped me a lot because I watched, a lot of your interview videos on how to conduct yourself during interviews
Mhm.
because I was more so, I used to be the kind of person when I had an interview, I was short. So you do an interview, someone says, tell me about yourself. I didn't want to seem like I was a chatterbox. Like I didn't want to keep going on and on and on and on and on and on and on, to whereas like I didn't leave them with any questions to ask me. So, it was a situation where I have an interview and I will sum it up within like 30 or 40 seconds. But it's kind of like, don't be afraid to elaborate on who you are, your current position, what you do, what you will bring to the table with the company. It's kind of like you're selling yourself, but you have to sell yourself in a way where you stay, on course within, what kind of work you do, who you are. You don't want to get carried away and say, yeah, I got 5 kids, 5 dogs, or whatever. They actually want to know who you are, who you're hiring, who you are as a person, what you the table, that will take you a long way within an interview. So like before, again, I was just very short. But just being confident in yourself, man. And even if you don't have any certs, if you have the competency, you understand technology, you know what you're doing, you're confident in what you're doing, that'll take you further than, someone who's saying, oh, I can't do it, I don't have any certs. If you have that confidence and you're competent enough and, a company sees and you're getting interviewed and they see that you're someone they feel like they can trust and you have that spark, that glow in your eyes, then they're going to move forward with you. That's really what it's all about. Anything you really literally want to learn from an entry level perspective, you can learn it on a job. You know what I'm saying? Of course, do your own research, practice. Like you said, man, like IT is all about like exercise. You know what I'm saying? You stay consistent, you continue to do it, you get results. Be persistent as well. But don't be that guy, who's like dropping their shoulders saying, I can't do it. I'm never going to get a position. Don't talk down bad on yourself, but actually, be the kind of person that is confident. And if you know realistically and you feel like you can do the work and you're confident enough, that will take you further than not being able to, not applying yourself or actually applying to a position that you really want. Worst thing someone could say is no. And the best thing someone could say is, I suggest you do this. Go ahead and learn this, practice this, and then maybe within 4 to 5 months reapply. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What's your, I guess it's gonna be a random question.
Mm-hmm.
I like to ask random questions. What's your advice for someone that says I shouldn't apply for a job because I'm Hispanic or I'm African American? You know what I'm talking about, right? That's like a stereotype for that, for people that try to get into IT and they don't want to go into IT because they're either Hispanic or they're African American, and they're afraid that they're gonna get judged immediately just because of their color of skin.
Let me tell you something, man. It's either do or you don't. That's the code I live by. Let me tell you something. Only African Americans and Hispanics only account for maybe 4% of the tech world. 4%, that's a very small fraction, right? But also a lot of businesses like Red Hat, Microsoft, they want you, other companies, they want a diverse, well-rounded cast of employees from different walks of life, gay, straight, black, white, Hispanic. They want a well-rounded, diverse crowd of individuals. So if you're black like myself, or Hispanic like Kev, you can't be discouraged from applying to these positions. They actually want you. There actually are grants. There actually are programs that are actually in place for you, if you want to get into tech. A lot of the problems are that we're discouraged from applying because of the color of our skin. And that's really what's holding us back a lot. You can't be afraid. You got to go out there and apply. You know what I'm saying? You have to be realistic with yourself. If it's something that you really want, go ahead and go out there and get it. You know, like it's a situation where, you know, you may be black or Hispanic, and you may be sitting before, you know, someone white, you know, and or another person white, or 3 interviews may be white, but you can't have in your mind and say, hey, I feel discouraged, you know, because I feel like they judge me, they think I'm stupid, you know, when that's not always the case. Really, you know, it's more so about you applying yourself, getting past the interview, and just taking that step, man, and not being afraid. You know, everyone's not against you. There are opportunities out there for you. You know, just don't give up. Be persistent and consistent within your search. Because it you know, you'll get 1,000 no's before you get 1 yes. But it's all about that persistency and consistency, man.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I just wanted to hear your opinion on that. And what's your advice for someone brand new to IT? Like, what would be your advice for someone like me, like I'm like Dante. I just, you know, I'm brand new. I know nothing about IT. Like, how do I get started in IT? Like, what would be your advice for me? Like, because I'm new, I know nothing about IT.
My advice would be curiosity. Be curious. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, be curious and be realistic. You know, there are guys who, you know, even girls who basically they come from a fast food background. They worked at McDonald's, know nothing about tech, right? But they get a land a technical support job, maybe for Bank of America or, you know, a telecommunications company, right? So learn all that you can within that company. Be curious. Do your own background research, you know, because things aren't ever going to fall in our lap. You know what I'm saying? Like, for some people, they do. That's a blessing. But for not all of us, like me, no. But, you know, be curious. Say to myself, I want to learn more about telecommunications. I want to learn more about how the internet works. If you're diligent within your own self-search, you know, opportunities are going to be endless for you. You know, someone who doesn't know about technology, don't be afraid to apply. You know, do the research. If you're unsure about how your resume should look, you know, check out Kevtech's YouTube channel. You know, if you're looking for, you know, tutorials, check out Kevtech's YouTube channel. There's YouTubers, or there's plenty of, you know, things out there for you to use as a tool of research to find information. You know, if you feel as if, like I said, you're confident within your search and you feel as if, like, you know, I can do this job, then by all means, go for it. You know, you have no choice but to continue to get better if you continue to have confidence within yourself, saying that I can do something. You know, I'm not saying everyone can do this, but if you have confidence and you're curious, go ahead and do it. You know, don't be discouraged because you come from a job, you know, maybe working at McDonald's, or you worked at Grand Central Station or something, and you were a housekeeper. You know, you can't have that in your mind that I'm not built for this. It's all about that confidence. So, you know, go ahead and apply. Like I said, you're sitting amongst these, you know, hiring managers and recruiters, and you're having these face-to-face interviews. Have confidence within yourself. You know, like I said, a lot of jobs just want to see that you're confident, you have the ambition to actually go out there and do these things. You can learn something on the job, entry level. You know, they will teach you how to do it. You know, just have the confidence, the faith, have the self-study skills, you know, have the ambition to continue to want to know more and want to learn more about, you know, what you want, and everything has no choice but to fall into place because you're actually doing the footwork.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Is there I don't wanna I'm gonna end the recording, but is there like anything else you want to say to anyone before we start recording, and we'll talk afterwards?
Yeah. I just want to say to, you know, everybody out there in the world, Black, Hispanic, you know, white, you know, you may feel, you know, not at ease about, you know, where you want to take your, you know, next step in life, you know, whether it be IT or you want to be a nurse or a surgical technician. have confidence within yourself. Do the footwork, do the research, practice, doing virtual labs. Check out Kevtech's channel, practice virtual labs, learn how to build virtual labs. Like, do these things, like do the footwork. Nothing's gonna ever fall into our laps, you know. Like I said, it happens for some people that way, but for many of us, it doesn't. But have the confidence in yourself again, be persistent, be consistent, you know, trust in yourself. And most of all, just get out there and, you know, don't be afraid to elevate your life. You know, if you want something, you want it bad enough, go for it.
Awesome. I'm going to stop the recording here. I hope everyone has a great evening. And I'm going to keep Dante here for a bit. I'm going to stop the recording.